Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unpacking a seriously chilling animated tale. It's one that perfectly, and I mean perfectly, illustrates the absolutely tragic consequences of just ignoring local folklore. We're going to dive right into this dark, incredibly atmospheric narrative. It's basically a showdown, right? Logic versus ancient, hyper-localized superstitions. And it gives us this fascinating look at what actually happens when our modern we-know-best sensibilities completely dismiss the very real, very dangerous warnings of the past.
Okay, let's set the scene. We are plunging straight into a turbulent, violently stormy night. We've got a new government official, his name is Toppin, and he's moving his family into this super remote riverside bungalow. They've just arrived after a brutal journey, driving through literal torrential rain. You know the feeling, they're exhausted. They're modern city folks from Kolkata, and they just want to get inside and dry off. But the environment around them, it is roaring. The river is swollen, and the atmosphere is immediately thick with this unspoken dread.
Now, this setup right here illustrates our core conflict from the jump. On one side, we have Tapan. He's the educated, highly logical city official. He views the whole world through this very practical, no-nonsense lens. And contrasting him, we have Bhuvan. He's the elderly local caretaker, and his wrinkled face hides this profound, incredibly cautious respect for the unseen forces of the land. Bhuvan isn't worried about catching a cold in the rain. No, he is deeply, fundamentally terrified of where this new house is located.
So Tappan orders his driver to take the car down this muddy riverside path toward the bungalow. But Bhuvan, he flat out refuses to get in. Instead, he drops this ominous warning. He says, village folks don't cross the river or pond after dusk. Just like that. And of course, the family instantly brushes it off as mere rural nonsense. Tappan just looks at him and sees an eccentric old man who's afraid of the dark. He completely misses the literal life or death gravity of what Bhuvan is actually saying.
And man, the tension builds immediately on their very first night. We get this string of eerie, straight-up impossible anomalies. First, when they arrive, the older daughter, Sugandha, looks out the car window. She thinks she sees Bhuvan walking alongside the dangerous, muddy riverbank, which is physically impossible given how crazy the storm is, right? But then, moments later, Bhuvan arrives at the bungalow from a completely different inland path. And it doesn't stop there. Right at midnight, instead of sleeping, Sugandha is caught just staring out at the dark, churning water, and she suddenly has this intense, almost unnatural desire to go catch fish the very next day. The unseen trap is already being set.
Section 1. The Morning Omen. The Backwards Footprints, a Warning Ignored.
So, as morning breaks after the storm, the wet mud reveals some impossible physical evidence of a supernatural trespasser. The family wakes up to find these deep footprints in the wet earth. And track this, they emerge directly out of the river, they traverse the mud, and they stop dead right at their front door. But here is the truly terrifying detail. The toes? They are pointing entirely backwards. These aren't the prints of someone walking down to the river. This is something walking up from the river to hunt.
Which brings us to a terrifying piece of local lore, Ulta Pair, or backwards feet. This is a classic folkloric indicator that a supernatural entity, or a straight-up demon, is attempting to walk among the living. Now, Bhuvan actually points out this classic sign of demonic presence to them, but the mother, Mandakini, she logically dismisses the whole thing just to protect her kid's peace of mind. She absolutely refuses to entertain anything supernatural. She actually demands that Bhuvan stop telling scary stories, completely ignoring the muddy, physical evidence literally sitting right on her doorstep.
Section 2. The Bait. Encountering the Entity, the Market Trip.
Later that same day, Sugandha gets sent down to the local market to buy some fish for dinner. And on her way, she meets this captivating girl who then mysteriously vanishes the second her sister interrupts them. This girl is stunning. She's got a thick braid, a really captivating smile, and these large kohl-rimmed eyes. But she asks Sugandha a very specific, totally unsettling question. She looks at her and asks, "Will you give me fish?" But before Sugandha can even process what just happened, her younger sister calls out to her, and boom, the beautiful stranger just disappears into thin air.
Okay, so the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this wasn't just some strange village girl. This was a classic manifestation of a localized entity, specifically a Mecho Boot. Now, a Metro Boot is a malevolent spirit in regional folklore that is consumed by this insatiable, literally demonic craving for fish. Mecho relates to fish, and Boot means ghost. So yeah, this entity wasn't hanging out trying to make friends. It's a predator, and it had just officially marked Sugandha as its provider. As Suganda heads back with the raw fish, the whole atmosphere just shifts, plunging us into this sensory nightmare. The isolated trail grows unnaturally dark. Then, suddenly, she's hit with this overpowering, nauseating stench of rotting fish. She can actually feel an unseen shadow trailing right behind her. Tree branches start mysteriously snapping and falling into her path. And then, the chilling, disembodied whispers begin. The entity isn't asking nicely anymore. It is aggressively hunting her down.
Will you not give me the fish? That bone-chilling demand echoes out of the darkness, and it pushes Suganda into a blind, frantic sprint back to the perceived safety of her home. Her heart is pounding, her mind just goes completely numb, and she runs for her life, clutching that raw fish like she's holding a ticking bomb. She collapses right at the front door, absolutely terrified. But tragically, her mother still completely clings to her skepticism and just blames the poor caretaker's ghost stories for giving her daughter a panic attack.
Section 3. The climax. A demonic hunger. Midnight in the kitchen.
Now, as anyone who knows folklore will tell you, a locked wooden door offers zero real protection. It's midnight, the mother hears a noise, goes to investigate, and it leads to this completely horrifying climax that permanently shatters any remaining skepticism the family had. She walks into the dark kitchen and finds her 16-year-old daughter, Suganda, sitting on the floor. She's covered in blood, and she's just tearing into the raw, uncooked fish with her bare hands, staring right back at her mother with this terrifying, purely demonic gaze. The entity didn't just follow her home, it took over completely.
And then it speaks. I was hungry. She fed me fish. Now I will stay with her. In that terrifying declaration, the spirit announces its absolute victory and the complete possession of the innocent daughter. That isn't Suganda speaking anymore. That is the Metro Boot. Because by answering the entity's demand, even indirectly, just by bringing that raw fish into the house, the ancient trap was sprung. All the modern skepticism in the world offered them absolutely no shield against the ancient ravenous laws of the folklore they spent the whole day mocking.
So, as we wrap up this dark explainer, it really leaves us with a haunting question. What was the real horror here? Was it the ghost itself, or was it the fatal modern hubris of just outright ignoring ancient warnings? It is a stark, terrifying reminder that when you step into a new world, it is absolutely crucial to respect its oldest rules. Thanks so much for joining me on this one. Keep an open mind, stay curious, and hey, maybe keep a close eye out for backwards footprints the next time you find yourself wandering near a stormy riverbank. See ya!